Hey everybody, it's me again. It's been a week since I talked to you last time on the Exodus Redux podcast. Thanks for coming back. If this is your second time, because this is the second episode. My name is Keith, and I'm here to talk about how we can get ourselves out of the world's work system where they hate us and create our own work economy amongst ourselves in order to preserve our faith, preserve our freedoms to speak the truth without the fear of not being able to feed our kids, for crying out loud. Today I was thinking about something that really has presented itself in my mind as a fault that I've had for decades after working in corporate culture. I don't know about you, but it seems like there's two different types in corporate world, whether you're a believer or you're not. There's the people pleaser, if you will, the ones that really look to the overlord's approval to hopefully get a crumb, to hopefully get a pat on the head, and eventually, hopefully, you'll get a elevated status among your peers. And the way to do that is to always excel, never fail, always have great reviews. And I can completely relate to that. I was one who used to look forward to reviews. I used to ask for reviews. I was a very sick individual. And then there's the other type who they're almost invisible. They do just enough to not be noticed that they haven't done anything, which are amazing types. I guess there's one other type. There's the type that somehow, and this has always been a mystery to me because they seem to always be the ones that get promoted. They're the ones that do all the talking and none of the working. I don't know if you have any of those that you can think of as well, but I'm always mystified by the fact that they always keep their jobs and they're the first to get promoted. It's weird. In my corporate days and in my higher ed days, I absolutely subscribe to the idea that if I just kept my bosses happy with my outcomes, in fact exceeded expectations on my little reviews, that I would get that nod. I would get the knighthood. I would be recognized for my fealty. Really hoping to be able to make enough money to prepare for the future, which I knew was going to be helping to prepare for my older parents. And for myself. I mean, I'm not getting younger. Are we getting younger over time? We're getting older, right? I've seen so many people who work their tails off and at retirement, they have nothing to show for it. And that's really pathetic. I'm definitely coming up on that place right now in my life. I can tell you, I have never had a bad review in my life. The worst review I got was met expectations. And I still got laid off right after that. So I think they just said that so they couldn't say they gave me exceeded expectations and then laid me off while they kept people who were barely making it or didn't meet the expectations and they got to stay. So I think about those days a lot because it's very frustrating. And let me tell you something. From watching the people that do get to stay around, the people that do get promoted, I have spent about a year, I would say around a year, really just becoming a lurch. Trying to figure out how the ones that cheat, the ones that lie, the ones that fail, but have all the attitude, I guess, always get ahead. And I don't know if it's because God said, no, that's not how I'm going to allow you to do this, or if it was because everybody was like, oh no, Keith's not doing what he used to do. That's not good because it reflect on us. I let my bosses take credit for my work, which honestly, I don't really have a problem with. I know a lot of people do, but I do expect some kind of return on that work that I did that they took credit for. I don't think it should be, let's just take the credit for the work that I couldn't do and I couldn't find someone else in my leadership team to do, and give it to Keith because everybody says Keith's the guy that can figure it out. And then I figure it out, and then they're like, hey, I mean, I didn't really need you to do that. I just was throwing you a bone. I don't think we need to talk about this anymore, and that kind of thing. But that year I was a real disgusting person, acting like the world at work. And I'm confessing here. I'm not bragging. I'm saying that was wrong. That was sin. That was not smart and gross. But that year, they were going through a restructuring. We got a new VP at the job I was in at the time, and they gave me many jobs that were outside of my job description for sure. But again, that was my norm because I was usually done with my yearly goals by June, July. So I looked for things to do to add to my review and my resume, to pad my results page, if you will. And yeah, man, that year I did the most ever that I can ever remember. And the result was I got laid off anyway. But I knew I was going to get laid off because someone dropped a dime. A friend of mine who had gotten promoted, surprisingly enough, he's one of the ones that stays invisible as much as possible. So he got promoted, and then he was in meetings where they were talking about myself, and they decided that I needed to go, and he kind of let me know. I was not happy about that, obviously. I worked very, very hard at that job. I was really sad when I found that out. Probably the most successful work I've ever done in a very large corporation, an international corporation, hundreds of millions of dollars affected, working on capital projects and uplifts and things like that in a technical environment. I don't know why I couldn't stay, but when I learned that, and I trusted that source, he was, who knows? In corporate, if you're in corporate, people that were your friends even, they probably genuinely were friends when you were more peers, but then once they get promoted, suddenly they go into the hatchet mode. But I was really disgusted because at this point I was definitely getting older. I was pushing 50 at that time, and I was like, I don't have time to start over yet again, to go through a layoff and another restructure just so someone who can't do the job, who had me do the job so they get the credit for the work, so they can justify being there and to look important, and then get rid of me because, well, I'm the guy that knows he did that. So anyway, that ended badly because I totally went off the reservation on that one and went bananas. I don't know if you guys ever get like that. You can tell me in the comments what your experiences are, because I would be curious to know if I'm yelling into the void here, which is fine too, because I don't really have people here to talk to when I work from home now. But the truth is, I lost my focus. I lost my way. I think about how many people in Scripture work as unto the Lord, but then get the axe. Sometimes literally. Sometimes they get sent to prison. And then God does something, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe you just die. The trick is to realize that we aren't of this world anymore, I think. And although we have to exist in it as ambassadors, we're actually citizens of heaven. Amen. I definitely have trouble with this one. I have a really bad desire to be ambitious. I loved being ambitious. I would get a job, and the first thing I would do is look for the organizational chart, and then I would watch. And I would see where the power flow actually went through that org chart. And what do I mean by that? If you watch who eats lunch with who on a repeated basis, if you see who's getting more money in their budget year after year or month after month, they get more high-profile projects. That's where the power is. That's where if you can draw a line from the CEOs down to the VP, you can find which VP is more preferred. Maybe not. It's a little trickier because they're harder to see when you're down on the bottom rungs. But the director, the managers, you'll see who's talking to who's giving whose name in meetings. And you just take stock in that, and then you find where that power is. But you never want to get in that flow, I'm convinced. I've learned that that's where you get wiped out. You want to find ways to dip your toe into that power stream when you need what you need to be successful, but you don't want to get in it. You don't want to try to swim in it. I really wish I could have figured some things out earlier about corporate. I would really like to know still. I still think about this constantly. How do you get promoted? I don't understand how you get promoted. I still, to this day, I'm in my 50s now, and I can't figure it out. I know what they say on the websites and in the books. I've read book after book after book on this. I've read the stupid Robert Greene book about power. I've read other books about how to influence people and stuff. And I'm like, dude, I've tried so much of this stuff. What in the world are they talking about? And I think maybe in Christendom, it might be different. I think the rules don't apply the same as it does to the lost, to the spiritually dead, because we're living epistles, right? We're Jesus' love letter to the world, for the world to read, for that great cloud of witnesses to watch be written. And a lot of times it's very irrational and illogical when you see what happens to believers in the world. But I would like to see, as the hostility grows, a better influence amongst ourselves to be able to protect our ability to provide for ourselves and for our families and for our community and for our church. I'm still trying to figure that out. If you guys have any suggestions, leave a comment and let me know what you think. I would really love to hear what you got to say as I continue to go through this process of learning how to overcome these weaknesses that I have, and to learn how God would want me to proceed, and how we can live in a not just a atheistic type of culture in America, and not just ambivalent toward Christianity, but actually hostile toward Christianity, especially when it's in practice, especially when we're not hiding that light under a bushel, right? Let's try not to do that anymore. Let's try to make an impact on the world before it's toast, before we're toast, before the Lord comes back. I'll be praying for you guys. And Merry Christmas, by the way. It's only 5 days away. Probably won't be given one on here until after that. And if I don't hear from you, or you don't hear from me before January 1st, Happy New Year as well. God bless.